Seeing that the hour of 8 o'clock has come and gone and within a minute or so, I call the Transportation Committee to order. All members except Member Bloomfield in attendance. Let's see. Need to start with approval of the minutes of December 6, 2022 regular meeting. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Abraham. Do I have a second? Second by Member Abel. Have any questions or concerns? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next, we have recommendation of payment of bills and appropriation transfer request forms, which were distributed with our packets. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Abel, second by Member Abraham. Any questions or comments regarding the bills? Wow, this is going to go even quicker than I thought. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. All right, next on the agenda, do we have any appearances by members of the public or county employees?
We do not. Thank you.
All right, number 5, departmental matters. Jerry Stokes from the County Highway Department. First up on the list is request approval of a resolution for the December 21st, 2022 material and construction letting. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Reeves, second by Member Abraham. Jerry, would you like to walk us through everything?
Sure. So this is material letting that we do to set prices for different types of aggregate and sand that we use for culverts, patching, shoulder work, and that type of stuff. So this price will carry all throughout 2023, and so we use it for just different maintenance items. And some of it, some of the rock and everything gets paid out of MFT, and then some of the sand and the bigger type rock that we use to put in culverts usually gets paid out of the bridge fund. So it just kind of depends on what we're doing, on what type of fund it'll come out of. And so it also depends on where we're working at in the county as far as what we've got. Different quarries that bid on this. Some are in Livingston County, some are one's in Tazewell County, and then a couple here in McLean County. And so it just kind of depends on the type of material that we need, plus based on where we're working at in the county and kind of how far the quarry is away. We kind of what we do is we put a 25 cents per mile for fuel on that to determine where we need to go. This one company is out of Utica, the Riverstone Group. Their aggregate's a lot cheaper, but the problem is they're an hour and 15 minutes away or hour and a half away, depending on where we're working at. So it's not always beneficial for us to go that far to get that type of material. So most of the time we're usually going to Livingston County to Prairie to get limestone material is primarily what we use.
Anybody have any questions?
And so then the second part of that is then we had also bid our the Horse Farm Road project, which is a reconstruction project going from the DeWitt County line up to 136. It's a 2-mile long, basically reconstruction project, similar to what we did on the Meadows Road last year. Basically redoing the ditches, the culverts, and the whole road. Taking out the road base, putting new road base in, and then new hot mix in there. And so road construction was a low bidder on this. It was over our estimate, but I think with the trucking costs and fuel, the price of diesel fuel, a lot of the rock that we spec'd out was coming from those Livingston County quarries that I just mentioned. So so the fuel to get the material down to that project is what kind of was the bigger increase over our estimate than what we had anticipated.
Anybody have any questions? Member Solder?
Thank you. So it looks like there were 2 other people maybe notified that you didn't get bids from. Are you finding that there's more work out there, that these companies are too busy, or are they just not wanting to do the work, or is it because it's out you know, kind of away from town a little bit, or what do you think the
I think
issue is?
it's all those factors. I did have a conversation with one of the other contractors that had pulled plans, and they just, I think they just couldn't get their numbers in time, and trying to still figure out some of the dirt work and what they were going to do with it. So,
I mean, it's a pretty good sized project.
Right.
Um,
right.
But,
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of work, and then the distance that it is from the different the quarries and the type of material that we spec'd out.
do we send this out to, you know, DeWitt County or Champaign, or, I mean, again, when you're at Leroy, you're not that far from Piatt or Champaign County.
Right. We don't necessarily send it to them. It was put on the IDOT bulletin, so all the contractors can see it that are, you know, around the area or in different counties and stuff. So
I'd prefer to see it in somebody in county, but when we don't get anybody else to bid, I think we need to try and look out if we can, but okay, thanks.
Sure.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. All right, move on to 5A1B, request approval of motor fuel tax fund and highway fund resolution for Lake Spur CH8, section 22-00046-16-RS. Do I have a motion? A motion by member Abraham, second by member Soldner. Jerry, would you like to take us through this?
So this is a resurfacing project that we're looking to do here in 2023. It goes from the Kamalar Park Road, which is near Evergreen Lake, and going to basically County Highway 31, which is right by Green Gables on the east-west stretch here. And so this road was last resurfaced in 1998, so it's kind of got to its useful life. When we're designing the roads, usually we're looking at a 20 to 25 year life cycle. Sometimes we get 20, sometimes we don't. It just kind of depends on traffic and the conditions that we have. So this is basically be a mill and fill where we take off the existing top layer and put new asphalt on there. We're also looking at putting safety shoulders on here where we put widen out the shoulders, put hot mix on there, and then put rumble strips to kind of help prevent running off the road accidents.
Anybody have any questions? Member Soldner?
Thank you. So, I assume then when we get up to the interstate there, that we're gonna just get to the approach and then do nothing and then go across. I mean, we're not allowed to do anything on the deck.
Right. Yeah. The deck's not. So those when we get into the intersections or the interchanges, those kind of get a little. Depending on what's the counties and what's IDOT's as far as maintenance goes, and so they got concrete medians that go out from this one, and so they probably go 1,000 feet each way from their bridge deck, and that's what they maintain. So we'll actually omit that part in our project. We'll go up to it, skip over it, and then start again on this particular location.
And then when you get to Green Gables, I'm trying to remember, there's curb and gutter and that in there. Are you gonna replace that, or is that all still good?
We are going to replace it, but not under this project. So as Green Gables is planning on rebuilding this year, and so they're going to be doing some curb work there. Actually, they're going to do the curb work as part of their whole site plan, and then we were planning on paying for it because we were going to do it anyway. But in 2024, we're looking at doing County Highway 31 that goes on north-south side. It runs on the east side of Green Gables, but runs north-south. And so when we do that project, we're going to do all the curb and gutter and everything there, because even once you get around the Lake Road Inn, there's curb and gutter on that goes north, and we got to do some drainage work and that type of stuff. So we were wanting to put basically all the curb and gutter on one particular project, and so that's why we're waiting.
So in an instance when a private group does curb and gutter, in this instance, not necessarily, but if it would happen, do they do it to our specs? Do they get engineering from us, or how does that work?
Yeah, we would, we'll review the plans. I think they've got a local engineering firm on board, and so we've already talked to them about it and what we're looking at there.
Okay.
And so, before they do anything though, because we had to talk about the entrances and that type of thing, and so we kind of laid out what we were looking for.
All right, thanks.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next up, 5A1C, request approval for motor fuel tax fund and matching fund resolutions for Saybrook Aerosmith Road, CH 36, section 22-00045-05-RS. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Soldner, second by Member Abraham. Gary?
So this is another project that we're looking at doing here in 2023. So this is a resurfacing project as well, but it also includes a different operation where we call it, it's all cold in place recycling. And so what they'll do is they'll come in and they'll till up the existing road, and they add an emulsion in there, and then they lay that all back out through a paver, and then so then it has to cure out for like 7 to 10 days, and then we'll come back in and put a couple inches of hot mix over the top of that. And so the difference between the two roads basically is the cracking on this particular road is what we call like full depth cracking. And so when you drive across it, you can really, basically the cracks are really pronounced. And so so those don't reflect back through, this is the best operation to help reduce those cracks coming back through. And so we'd be going down basically with the existing hot mix that's already there, and rejuvenating that through this process.
Anybody have any questions? Member Reeves?
This and the prior road, will those be Class 2 truck routes?
So part of the Lake Spur is already Class 2 truck route from 39 to Green Gables, but it'll be 80,000 pounds from 39 going to Kamalara, and this one will also be an 80,000 pound design. It won't be actually considered Class 2 truck route, but because we didn't apply for TARP funds, and so TARP funds are truck access route program funds. And so that's where, so that basically the state kicks in like 40,000 per lane mile. And so it'll be an 80,000 pound route, but it won't be considered Class 2, if that makes sense. It'll be an open road all year round.
Anyone else? Member Soldner?
Thank you. So it says here that this was last resurfaced in 91. I seem to remember in the early 2000s they did slag seal or something. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And did you find that was able to maintain it for some time or not? Again, I know it's a rough road, but
Yeah, actually it did. I think right after maybe the wind farm came through, we put a slag seal down, and that's a different, it's a real fine type of rock that we got from, that was a byproduct of a quarry or a power plant down in Taylorville. So we went down there and trucked it back, and had another company then put it down. We stockpiled it, and then they loaded it up in their trucks and put it down. So yeah, we've used that on quite a few roads since then, and it's really, I'd say it's really helped prolong the life of it. And so it's basically like a pavement preservation process that we try to do, between like 8 to 12 years, let's say. And the problem with the slag, so that company, that plant closed down or quit making or quit selling it. So then we started going to a power plant over in Mapleton, and so that worked for a few years. Well, then they started really upping the price, so then it wasn't beneficial. I mean, I think the last time we did it, it was like $50 a ton, and and we were going over there to get it, so it just didn't. So we haven't really done that anymore. We've tried some different types of sand and different things, microsurfacing and that for our pavement preservation over the last couple of years.
thanks.
Anyone else? All right, we have a motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Next up, 5A1D, request approval of an engineering service agreement with Lewis Yaki and Brown Incorporated. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Abraham, second by Member Reeves. Would you like to walk us through this?
Sure. So this is kind of a yearly contract or yearly agreement that we have with Lewis, Yaki, and Brown that we refer to as LYB. They're located here in downtown Bloomington. I think they have maybe an office in El Paso as well. And so they kind of basically just do miscellaneous survey work as we need it. If we need to have them go out and topo something where they go out and survey it, or we might have them do some center line work for us or control points and that. But the main thing that they actually do for us is before our like resurfacing projects that we just kind of talked about, and then after they get done, they go out and they find the section corners, and so they tie all those off. And so by law, we're required to put those back in after we resurface the road. And so then they come back after we get done resurfacing for the year, and they put the section corners back in the pavement.
Any questions? No? All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Next up, 5A1E, request approval of a matching fund resolution for Danvers Uton Road, CH 18, section 20-00038-06-RS. Do I have a motion? Motion by Member Abraham, second by Member Abel.
So this project is basically our big resurfacing project for 2023. It has multiple funding sources, and what I mean like that. So the McLean County, we receive federal funds that run through IDOT, and we receive about 1.3 million per year. And so we usually do a resurfacing project with those types of funds, depending on where they're at. And so on this particular project, we applied for Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. And so we're actually putting in paved shoulders with rumble strips on this road as well, because there's, looking at the crash data, we had quite a few run off the road accidents. So we applied for funds and received $1 million for that work. And then this was one we also applied for TARP funds for. And so this will be a Class 2 truck route when we're completed. And so and then also through IDOT, they had some COVID relief funds that amounted to like $275,000 that came to McLean County. So we're using all that on this project as well. And so so the way the funding works out is we actually, on the TARP funding side, we're able to use that money to match the federal funds. So the federal funds are what we call STR funds, and so that stands for Surface Transportation Rule. And so there's an 80-20 split difference in there, so we have to match 20% of whatever is spent from the STR funds. And then on the HSIP side for the safety shoulders is a 90-10 split. So what we do is we use those TARP funds to match those federal funds on this particular project. Sometimes we can just get safety funds and we could kind of run that through the county, but since this was a federal job that we set it up, we ran everything through that way. And so so basically the matching fund resolution here that we're requesting to approve is to make up for any additional shortfall that those other funds don't cover. So basically we're estimating this project to cost about $4 million. And so, the county's portion is going to be about 10% of that, around $440,000. So it's I think it's a real good use of putting all the funding together, and it'll be a really nice road. It's a pretty high traffic count road, 2,500 cars a day. So it'll be it'll be really nice to make it a Class 2 route. We've had a lot of requests for that over the last few years to get that upgraded.
Do we have any questions? Member Reeves?
So when we go to a Class 2 road, with the advent of these electric semis that are coming out, the federal motor carriers are already given a 2,000-pound allowance for that because it weighs more. What's the county's position on that going forward? Are we engineering that into these roads?
No, not if not necessarily going to an 82,000 pound design. We don't. I guess there's really nothing. There's nothing set up for that as far as we don't have the way that there's like design formulas, and so they haven't accounted for anything above 80,000. So, I think that the federal motor they do a lot of stuff where they're trying to get above 80,000 pounds. I'd have a hard time believing that maybe Illinois would follow that, or they would still keep the 80,000 pound design on that. But with that being said, there's kind of on the other side of it, there's some talk and some planning to figure out how the revenues from those electrical vehicles are gonna funnel into the motor fuel tax, because with the motor fuel tax, they're not using gasoline anymore, so trying to figure out how that's gonna all. There's been some meetings and stuff with IDOT and looking at some planning stuff to accommodate some of those issues. So if the additional money's there, then we might have to start going to those 82,000 pound designs.
Off the cuff, what would allow an extra 2,000 pounds on a road like that?
We're probably close. I mean, we're probably right there. I mean, there may be a few roads that are, might be a quarter inch or something like that. Is probably what we're talking.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Member Solder?
Thank you. So it looks like on this Danvers Road, there's a bridge somewhat close to Newton. Are you going to do any update or anything new on that bridge?
It's a box culvert,
Okay.
so it's not actually a bridge. So we'll just mill right over the top of it and fill it back up.
And then there's also a railroad,
Yes.
and I was just wondering what's going to happen there.
Yeah, so there's going to have to be some coordination there. They've actually, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, they've come in and redid their, because actually 2 of those lines belong to the elevator right there at the Uten, and then the other line is Norfolk Southern. I think all 3 of them have came in and redid their approaches, their lines and stuff. We'll have to go up to it, and we'll need railroad insurance and that type of thing, but I don't think we'll have to touch the tracks itself.
And then when you get to 150, is there traffic control lights there? I can't remember.
There is at Rivian Motorway, yes.
So you'll have to do something with control there as far as something in the pavement?
No,
You're not
because I don't
doing
think those are kind of weird because they're not overhead, and so I think there's no signals in the pavement.
Right,
there.
right, okay. All right, thanks.
Anyone else? Nope. All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Next is 5A1F, request approval of a highway fund resolution for Riddle Pit Road, CH 15, section 23-00069-01-SC. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abel, second by member Abraham. Next.
So these next 2 projects are involved with the Sapphire Sky Wind Farm, and so it was roads that the wind farm company used, and so we're gonna. So on the Riddle Pit Road project, we're gonna till this road up and add 2 inches of aggregate to it, and then spread it all out, and then put an oil and chip surface on top of it. The traffic count's not real. Actually, the condition of the road's in pretty decent shape, but there is some cracking that's going on here, and so we thought pulverizing it and adding 2 inches of aggregate would help it out. So that's so this would be a kind of a simple project to do. We'll probably have to come in and add some dirt shoulders to it as part of this. So the wind farm will be paying for the majority of the work. We did add a mile that wasn't used by the wind farm just to make it all where we have basically logical termini. So we're starting at County Highway 40 and then going up to which is 500 north. We're going up to 750 north. And so the wind farm was only responsible for 1.5 miles of that, but we're going to go ahead and do the additional mile, so it's all kind of together.
Any questions? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Next up, 5A1G, request approval of a highway fund resolution for Rock Road CH 40, section 22-0029-04-SC. Do I have a motion? Motion by member Abel, second by member Reeves.
So this is the Rock Road that goes from County Highway 15, which is the Sabina Road, all the way to the Bellflower Saybrook Road. So it's 6.5 miles. The wind farm used 4.5 miles, and this was they used this road a lot more than they did the previous road, and so we actually had to go out and put some hot mix down kind of during construction, because they started beating up the road pretty good at some of the concrete trucks and some of the loads that we did. So we kind of went in and put like a hot mix wedge to basically protect the road as they were doing the construction. And so on this particular project, we're doing what they call a full depth reclamation, which is similar to the cold in place recycling that I had mentioned earlier, only we're going to go deeper. So once you get past like 4 and 5 inches, they call it full depth. So we're actually going to go down 6 to 7 inches on this road, and that's going to take all the oil and chip, and then part of the aggregate that's underneath it, and it'll till it all up, and then we'll add emulsion into that as well. And then instead of this going, the material doesn't go back through a paver because there's too much material. What it does, they have a grader that comes by and spreads it out. And then that has to cure, and then we come in and trim it off, and then we'll put a oil and chip surface on top of this road as well.
Any questions? No? All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. You have 5A2 item for presentation, the 2022 motor fuel tax allotment.
Yeah, so this is it's kind of a summary of our 2022 allotments on there. And so basically we averaged around 306,000 per the month. And so this comes monthly from IDOT. There's kind of two different forms. There's like what we call regular MFT that's basically 19 cents per gallon. And then there was a transportation renewal fund that was implemented in 2019. And so that's the one that was added to it. So that it increased the additional 19 cents, but then also it's tied to the CIP index. And so, it was what was actually July 1st, that tax was suspended. And so now on January 1, it kicked back in for that particular portion of it. So the Transportation Renewal Fund, and once we get into maybe here in a couple months, I'll try to do a presentation on motor fuel tax to kind of help explain it, because there's kind of a lot to it. But basically, yeah. So just kind of wanted to show that these are our allotments for the year.
Does anybody have any questions? Member Reeves?
You use the term CIP, Consumer Price Index?
Yeah, sorry, CPI, yeah.
CPI. And then that tax was removed, or which tax was removed?
The portion so there was an increase, let's say, and July 1st there was supposed to be, but they suspended it until January 1st, and then now that CPI is going to kick back in, and so every July 1st, depending on what it could potentially go up, whatever that CPI index is.
Any other questions? All right. Next up, we don't have to vote on that, right? Nope. All right. So next up, Administrator Taylor.
I'll show a couple pictures first. So So we did have one construction project going on that just got finished up last week, and it was a bridge project that where we had scour issues, and so they came in. The company put in basically put riprap all the way around the piers and the abutments, and so when we talk about scour, basically what it is when we got high water flow. The flow comes in and it starts to basically kind of swirl and not to say undermine, but remove the sediment around the piers of the bridge. And so, so especially like down in the southeast part of the county where the channels are really sandy. So when we get high water flow, the water moves that sand around and so what we do is when we have a flood situation, a lot of times once water recedes, we go out and we measure the scour to check it to see how bad it is. And so we had a few bridges that were what we call scour critical. And so we did one earlier this year in Martin Township where we did the same deal where they come in. So basically what we're doing is we're digging out 3 foot around all the piers and all the way through the channel and putting oversized aggregate in there to protect it, so we don't have any future potential for undermining of the bridge, basically. So so here's kind of just one diagram of it, and then so here's kind of another that kind of shows the downforce and how the sediment would get removed around the pier. And then so this is kind of not necessarily the best picture, but this is kind of what when it was flooded. So this is what we call the Morris Mills Bridge, which is down by McLean, Illinois. And so you kind of can see, just the force of the water, and you got debris building up there at the pier. And so then that starts to take away the sediment right at the piers. And so then what we come in, and so we put riprap in and basically go 10 foot out from the bridge on all sides and then put it all the way down through the channel. And so just got a couple pictures of that, so you kind of can see it all the way down through the channel. So now it'll protect these piers and so we won't have this undermining right here at these locations. And then it also protects the abutments, because a lot of times we'll have scour and the abutments will start to undermine, and so we just did the whole entire span underneath the deck.
So then with new construction, are you doing something different, or are you doing that right away?
We're doing it right away as we do it. They put riprap all the way down through there. Or not always. Sometimes we'll just go do it around the piers and that, depending on how big sometimes it's hard to span the whole. It's a lot of money to span the whole entire thing. But we're definitely doing the abutments there, and then sometimes the piers in the middle as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Nope. All right. Administrator Taylor?
Thank you, Chair Rogal. I have nothing to present for this committee.
All right, the next item on the agenda is meeting dates for the rest of 2023. I expect everyone here early on July 3rd so we can get in and out and go on our way. Does anybody have any questions about those? Nope. Anything else from anybody? No? I want to again apologize for being tardy this morning. Hope everybody had a good holiday season. And with that, we're adjourned.